Okay, well, it is 5:05, so we will get going. Today I'm going to make sure I keep an eye on the chat box because I don't know how the heck I didn't see it last time, but today I will check them. So please send them as you can and throughout the entire presentation. Today, I'm going to share my screen. Let me do that. Today, our presentation is about budget-friendly nutrition and what's called the flexitarian way of eating. So we'll get into that and we'll talk about what that means exactly. I keep wanting to. I guess first thing we'll go over, like usual, is I want at least one, maybe two positives from the last week from you guys. Again, this can be something that we're working on, something that is just in your life and is positive because that's part of the lifestyle of the Freedom Wellness, right? We need positive things just in self-care, doing something fun, watching a fun movie, whatever it is. So just 1 to 2 positives, and then we will get going with our presentation. And you can put it in the chat too, if you want to, whatever works.
Just something excited about this weekend. On Saturday, my husband and myself, we open our new cigar club. So.
Oh, very cool. Exciting. So is this another location?
Well, we had like some cigar bars, but we never had a cigar club.
Cool.
We opened a cigar club. So.
Very cool. Well, where is it?
It's in Las Colinas.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. That was exciting.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Cool.
Even though I don't smoke, but.
Well, hey,
I enjoy going there.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's a business that you created with your husband. That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else positives from this past week? Is anyone dressing up for Halloween? Or kids dressing up for Halloween? I don't think I am, but we'll see. I always like the idea of it, and I think of I don't think of something. I think that's the hardest part. But then if I think of something, I can never pull it off. So, but I always like seeing what people think of.
I'm dressing up my dogs.
Oh, I like that. Yes. I saw a very cute dog costume the other day, and it was like a UPS driver, and it was like this little wiener dog in a UPS driver costume, and he was holding a box. It was so cute.
Oh,
that's
Wonder
cute.
Woman. Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Wonder Woman. Okay, well, as I said, good to see everyone today. We're going to be going over the flexitarian way of eating. We'll get into that kind of at the end of the presentation, but really, one of the big things throughout this entire series of classes that we've been doing is we really want to focus on practical nutrition, right? And part of that is finding things that are budget friendly, right? Something we really, focus on is being healthy does not mean you have to spend a whole bunch of money, because there's a lot of quick, easy, convenient, cheap things that can still be made into those, balanced power plate meals. We got a supporter of the Wonder Woman. Cool. Okay. So just based on some of your experience with saving money when it comes to food, or just tips or tricks, what are some of y'all's favorite tips and tricks to save money when it comes to food? What do you guys, anyone have any ideas or things that you guys have heard before that's worked for you?
Eat in.
Yes, eat in. Yes. So I think part of that is the planning part of it and making sure you have food at home. Yes, exactly. And I think a big part is having food that sounds satisfying at home, because that's really important. I think sometimes when we try to be too good at the grocery store, then we don't want anything in our house, and then we decide to go out, right? So yeah, excellent. And we'll talk next week, the last week, I can't believe it, is all about meal planning and grocery shopping. So we'll talk about that too. Someone said Costco. Yes, I have so many patients that love Costco, and I hate to say it, I still don't have a membership. And I tell my patients, they give me a hard time because I tell them all the time I'm going to get a Costco membership and I never do. But I hear wonderful things about Costco and just buying what they have some great products there too, like some easy meals, some easy healthy snacks. So I've heard a lot of good things about Costco, Sam's Club. Anyone else have any things that they recommend for saving money when it comes to food?
I'm so sorry. I can't get my camera on. I have been
Okay.
trying. Um, I'm on my phone today instead of on the computer,
Gotcha.
but anyway, one of the things I do, I'm kind of frugal, and so I collect coupons
Yeah.
and I cut coupons quite often, and um, I try to make meals out of what I have coupon wise.
Yes, I think that's an excellent way to do it. I think a lot of times when you do check out at the grocery store, they give you like those little coupons, and sometimes they're really good deals. I recently got like a free olive oil with $20 purchase, which like, it things add up like that, and olive oil isn't cheap. So yeah, saving coupons and being mindful of that is a good idea. Totally. Okay, anyone else before we move on with specific ideas, tips and tricks? Okay. So the first thing, and like I said, we'll go into this in more detail next week, but the first thing is having a plan, creating a grocery list. Because I don't know, if you're like me and you go to the grocery store without a list, it can really add up. And you get to the cashier and you ended up spending way too much money because, you kind of grab things and think you're going to use it, or it looks really good, even though you don't really need it. And, with that, I do recommend buying a couple things that sound good to keep food fun and exciting. But going in with a plan, and I think sometimes a big part of this is we don't want the plan to be a rule, right? We don't have to stick to that list. But, if we see something, they're like, oh, that sounds like a good snack, totally grab it. But having a loose plan to go in and, get what you need really helps with that. So planning your meals for the week and shopping for what you need. I think before creating the list, even, going into your pantry and your fridge, seeing what you have, seeing what you should use up, and trying to create some of the meals off of those things, right? Like oftentimes I'll have cans of beans in my pantry, or maybe I have like, I'm just using things that I've had to do recently, like cream cheese left over that I need to use. So I try to use that for a specific recipe and create a plan off of that. But planning and creating a grocery list, one of the ways that we recommend creating a grocery list, and this is a handout that I'll upload separately for you guys, is how to create one in your iPhone Notes app. For those of you that have that do not have the iPhone, I'm sure I should know this, but I'm sure there's a Notes app of some sort in the other phones. But this is kind of based off of the iPhone, unfortunately, for those that do not. But so going to the Notes app, the coolest part, I think, about this one is that you can share this note with other people in your household. So you can, you can share it with them and they can add whatever they want, or if they notice that they used the last of the milk, they need to put it on there really quick. So I like that part. And of course, this isn't the only way you can keep a grocery list, right? Like some people like the old-fashioned list on the fridge, and it works the same. Keep a pin there and write down things that would immediately when you run out of it, write it on the list, especially those staples. So you can see over here, it kind of breaks it down into the sections. This also helps with like time and efficiency at the grocery store of like going through those different sections. And so you're not like pacing back and forth. I've been there where I think I'm done with the produce, but I end up going back like 6 times because I wasn't as organized as I should have been. But this will help you stay organized and kind of help like organize your thoughts even when you're trying to plan. All of these things are not like super necessary, like creating your plan on the phone, but you certainly can. I like to keep something on my fridge, whether it's a dry erase or a notepad of like meal ideas that I'm doing for the week. So it especially helps with like other people in the house or like kids too, of like, hey, what's for dinner? It's on the fridge. Let's see some other things on here. I think I have a chat. Emails helps make this easy. What is emails? Do you mind sharing? I'm going to write it down.
Yeah. Okay. So it totally works. I'm still at work. That's why I'm not showing my camera. Okay.
Oh, you're
So it
good.
totally works if you enjoy cooking and you don't like going to the grocery store. So it's a subscription. It's $10 a month, but it has whatever kind of diet you want to follow. So if you
Okay.
want to do keto or you want to do healthy, like you can kind of tell it what you are interested in eating.
Okay.
And then it gives you recipes for the week. And each week it gives you new recipes. And you can click, I want to make that. And then it adds all the ingredients to your grocery list. And then you can
Wow.
go in and say, well, I already have olive oil, so you can take that off. But then it sends it straight to your Kroger or your Walmart or wherever you want. And then you just go pick it up.
Very cool. I haven't heard
Now,
of the
I don't like
emails.
cooking, so I don't do it anymore, but I did give it a try and it does help.
Yes.
So what's the
Good.
name? Say that again.
No, you go
What's the
ahead.
name?
Is someone trying to talk?
Yeah. So what's the name?
Emails.
Email.
Emails, and I'll send it. I'll send it out because I'm going to look into it and I'll send it in the chat for everyone. I haven't heard of that one specifically. I know I have a resource at the end. I think Yumly and Instacart are kind of similar, where if you pick a recipe, you can add it to the grocery list, but it doesn't like send you recipes like you're talking about, Meredith. But that's really cool. I love, again, we love convenient things that help us, put together. Oh, someone else said I love emails. Cool. I don't know how I haven't heard of this. Awesome. I will definitely check into it. And I will send it out to everyone. And they have, Family Freezer. Wait, so is Family Freezer part of emails or is Family Freezer a different thing?
It's different. And I used to do emails and now I do Family Freezer. And it's also
Okay.
a subscription, but you pick what you want and then it gives you a list like for Costco or Sam's Club so that you'll make 12 different meals out of what the grocery list is. So you'll have, I think it's 3 family size meals and they say it's like 3 to 4 servings or whatever, but you'll have that 3 times. So you buy these freezer bags, whatever. So you make enough for 3 meals, but it's 4
Okay.
different recipes and it gives you the list for Sam's Club or Costco.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yes.
Cool.
And love that one too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys. I'm gonna look at both of these and then send them out to everyone. And I will also next week I'll probably add them to the presentation just because they'll be really helpful for that topic, the planning and grocery shopping. Awesome. Thank you guys. That's so cool. See, we learn from you guys just as much. Cool. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so there's other like quick things. And again, I wanted to breeze over grocery lists a little bit in terms of like budgeting this week, but we'll definitely go in more depth with how to plan, how to create a list, all of those good things. So basically the big part of this is create a list and find a way that works for you. And just because it works for someone else does not mean it has to be how you do it, right? Like I think the Notes app works great, but I also love, like we talked about, keeping a list on the fridge or whatever, whatever works best. So just finding your groove and what works best for your lifestyle and for your family. I think the sharing the notes is really nice because I get a lot of people that are like, well, I always want this, but we never have it. And I'm like, well, you can add it to the grocery list if you want to. So it's nice being like, supportive of everyone in the family unit. Okay. So one thing that really helps me personally for several reasons, right? I think time is, it's hard to find time to grocery shop sometimes. It's hard to find the energy sometimes or the motivation, depending on, the phase of life you're in or how busy you are at work or if there's something stressful going on in your life, whatever. I think the grocery shopping online has really helped a lot of people be successful with their health and grocery shopping, but also saving money. I think that it's like such an easy way to budget when you are doing like the curbside pickup or even the delivery, because you see immediately like how much you're racking up, right? Whereas if you're in the grocery store, you're just tossing in your cart. And then again, you're having that big surprise when you get to the cashier. And so I have found that this has been a huge for so many reasons. And I like a hybrid, sometimes I do the pickup, or sometimes I go, right? Again, it just depends on what I'm doing with my life, and what's going on in those moments. So I think sometimes people think that I've heard, before, this is a lazy thing, but again, there's no such thing, right? When things are convenient, it helps make this a lifestyle. It turns it into a lifestyle for us, and it makes it much more sustainable. So, and it's easier to follow your list and, purchase items that you need and just do it quickly. Almost all grocery stores, I think, have this now, like Kroger, Tom Thumb. For those of you that are, in Frisco, you have H-E-B now. I'm jealous, but I'm hoping that now that it's here in DFW, I'm hoping that it spreads. But H-E-B does it. I know like Instacart, I'm not as familiar with Instacart. I think they go everywhere for the most part. But there's so many different like delivery or pickup options that you can do now. The only one I can't think of that does it is Trader Joe's, which I really wish they would. And I think another thing, they've gotten a lot better about, I think that's one thing that came from COVID, is they've gotten a lot better with like the how quick they're able to do it. Like for a while, sometimes you have to wait a couple of days, it was kind of backed up, I think, just because everyone was doing it probably. But usually now, if you order it in the morning, you can even get an evening slot to go pick it up. So it's improved with time. Sometimes I will say you get some funny things. One time I ordered, sometimes like the measurements are funny. It's probably user error for me, but I ordered 1 jalapeno because I wanted 1 jalapeno for a recipe I was using, and they gave me a pound of jalapenos. So it was 1 pound. Again, probably my mistake, but sometimes you'll get funny things like that, and you have to figure out what to do with a pound of jalapenos. But yeah, so has anyone had experience with the curbside pickup or the delivery and like really enjoyed it? Anyone? Love them. Yeah. Oh, HEB. Is the HEB and Briscoe starting to like calm down a little bit? Or is it still 9 minutes in and out? Wait, so does that mean you ordered it and then in 9
Oh
minutes?
no, just pickup. I was in and
Okay.
out in 9 minutes, but I
Okay.
have not tried to go in the store, but I did order pickup, but it was still a couple days out.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
I'm sure that one will of course, settle down eventually. But yeah, I mean, it's super quick, super easy. Awesome. Have y'all, HEB is one of those that has like such great, quick, easy things. Like they have some of like oven ready meals and snacks. They have a lot of good products. Okay, so another thing is purchasing produce. So certain ways to save money here. Typically, if you purchase fruits and vegetables that are in season, they are typically cheaper. So that's something to look out for. And I can send a list. I think we have a handout on specific foods, or sorry, the produce that are in season. So typically they're a little cheaper. Purchasing canned or frozen. I think that this is such a good idea, because for many reasons, right? One, they don't go bad and they last a long time. They're just as nutritionally, like nutrient dense, right? And they're easy to throw in meals and add. So purchased canned or frozen, and like you don't have to go back to the grocery store. They're there to use when you need to. The only thing, I think I might have said this in previous classes, the only thing I would look out for is like with specific canned fruits and veggies, I would buy the ones that are no salt added for the vegetables. And that way you can add your own salt, right? And like to taste, just to decrease some of that sodium. And then for fruits, if you're buying canned fruits, I would buy them in like without the added syrup. Like, so they're either in typically 100% juice, so you still get some of that vitamin C, but not as much of the added sugar in the syrup. But still such a good way to add in those easy fruits and vegetables into your normal diet. And sometimes people like, again, like we talked about this, I think last week in the Mythbusters one, but some people think again, like if we're doing canned vegetables, they're not as good. That is not true, right? And again, it's an easy way. And some people like for example, I get one a lot where they say they like canned green beans better than fresh, and that's okay, right? And again, it's okay. However we can get more of those veggies in is a good thing. One of my favorite things to do is, if you make veggies for something, or, like a sheet pan meal, or maybe it's a side to one of your dinners, try to use those leftovers for different things. Like one that I always do is honestly, any veggies, like I like putting broccoli in my eggs the next morning. I like to chop it up small, but broccoli, cheese, and eggs is actually really good. But of course, like fajita veggies, like peppers, onions, that goes really well in like an omelet or an egg scramble the next day, or like a stir fry. So trying to recycle some of those things that you already have cooked for different things, or that can even be the plan, right? Of like, okay, I'm going to make broccoli and I'm going to use some of it for cheddar broccoli rice, and I'm going to use some of it for a stir fry, or, a soup or something. So you can kind of use the same thing for multiple meals. Any questions about purchasing produce, or just some of the things that we talked about specific to some of those bullet points or thoughts? Okay. So here are, this is kind of what you guys were talking about. These are two different ones. As far as a recipe generator, I was thinking about maybe even creating a resource sheet for you guys based on some of the things we've talked about through these 6 weeks. But anyway, these are two similar things where you insert, I like, again, using the foods in your pantry for different things. So you insert, like I have beans, rice, and cheese or something, or broccoli, and it'll give you certain recipes that use those different things, which I think is really good. It helps. Again, also just helps with like inspiration, finding new ways to use things, because I don't know about you guys, but we get like stuck in patterns of recipes, right? Like, we'll kind of create this like cycle for ourselves. And so sometimes, and that leads to like, we get tired of these certain foods, and then that leads to, we don't want to cook at home because we're tired of eating the same meals all the time. So we go out. And so using these different resources like the myfridgefood.com or supercook.com, or the emails, or the family freezer meals, those will help like keep things exciting, right? And keep things like, fun and something you're looking forward to, and even just inspiration for like quick ideas, convenience ideas. So it's nice to use those resources. And again, as far as like saving money, it helps you use what you have before buying a ton of more food. When you have stuff at home that can essentially be turned into a recipe or something tasty. So freezing extra foods. So this is something, we have a chat. HelloFresh. Yeah, that's another like fun way, especially like and more inspiration, right? Like HelloFresh, I've done Home Chef. And sometimes people only do it for a little bit, because you kind of like, it helps you get through like a period of time. Like if I know, oh man, the next few months are gonna be really stressful for some reason, or, whatever, doing HelloFresh or Home Chef or what are some other ones, Blue Apron, it helps you like get through those times because they just send it to you and you still have to cook. I think HelloFresh probably has this too, but I know Home Chef has like a freezer ready meals that you can just pop in. So there's all sorts of things out there that help you be successful. But also it does help save money in a sense because it keeps you out of the drive-through as much, right? So yeah, good ideas. So freezing things like freezing, I need to be better at freezing stuff too, because it is such a good way to save money because a lot of times we don't eat all of our leftovers, right? If you can, that's awesome, depending on how many people you have in your house. But things like even sauces or soups, freezing these to use at a later time. And I think that's the point of the family freezer that we were talking about earlier is making certain like amount of meals and putting it in the freezer so you can just take it out and put it in. So that method of cooking and meal planning is really good for busy lifestyles because you have them in the freezer, you take it out, put it in the oven, and it'll be ready in, however long it needs to cook. And then what you do basically when you start seeing those dwindling down, make more and freeze it so they're ready. So it says here, like you can basically freeze anything except for canned food, eggs and shells, mayonnaise, fried food, uncooked potatoes, cream sauce, and lettuce. Does anyone have experience freezing foods or anyone like really good about doing this? I also freeze. So sometimes I'll buy like extra bread or tortillas. I will freeze my bread because it lasts longer. Same thing with bagels, and if you want to eat it right away, all you have to do is microwave for a bit and then put it in the toaster. But that's a way so bread doesn't go bad as quick. I also, if I know I'm going to eat bread, I pretty much keep all bread or grain products in the refrigerator. But if I know I'm not, if it's like an extra loaf or something, I'll put it in the freezer to keep it.
I was just going to say that like with vegetables, to freeze vegetables, like I blanch my vegetables first.
Mm-hmm.
So I will boil water, like salt water or whatever, dip them in, like if I want to freeze peppers or something like that, dip them in for a minute or two, then take them out and then freeze them.
Beautiful. Yeah. And that keeps all the nutrients in there and it freezes them really nice. Yes. That's awesome. And you can, these, like when you already have them frozen like that, then you can use them for so many different things. Like we talked about the stir fry, putting them in soups. I will add like frozen veggies that I freeze onto like a pizza. If I buy like a frozen pizza, I'll add some of those frozen veggies on top, just add some nutrients there. There's so many ways that you can add some of those vegetables that you saved versus them going bad. So yeah, good stuff. Okay, so we'll kind of get into the flexitarian diet, but just to kind of go over like protein sources, budget friendly. So a lot of them are plant proteins. And it's good to have a mix of animal proteins and plant proteins because animal proteins are very bioavailable, meaning that we absorb that protein very well. But there's a lot of benefits to plant protein sources. And a lot of times they are cheaper and they have a lot of health benefits as well. So let's go into the flexitarian diet. Has anyone heard of the flexitarian diet before? Or has anyone practiced it before or already practicing it? Okay, got a couple no's. Good. Well, I'm glad you're here. Okay. So let's get into it. So basically where it comes from is the word coming from like flexible vegetarian, right? So what this means is, again, we have a mix of plant-based proteins and animal proteins. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of history, it's actually like the idea of it kind of came in from Dawn Jackson. She's a dietitian. It started in around 2003, and basically just putting together, like being intentional about the combination of plant-based proteins and vegetarian, and animal proteins. So something to be mindful of going into this, though, I get a lot of times when patients are starting to implement this way of eating, this doesn't mean just like leave off the protein for a meal, right? Like this means you still need a protein there or some kind of protein, but it doesn't have to be an animal protein. It can be a plant protein, right? So we still need to be intentional about including the protein, but sometimes it's the plant versus an animal. So the good thing about this is, we call it a diet. However, it's not a restrictive diet, right? It's not a diet that's like you can't eat a certain amount of certain food or you should feel guilty about a certain food. This diet is still very balanced. It's simple, it's healthy, and it's sustainable, right? Because you can still eat enough for your body. It's just being intentional about adding a variety of those proteins. So it still places a focus on the variety of foods from all of those food groups, right? So we still want to have those good nutrient dense, high fiber carbohydrates and starches in there, all fruits and vegetables, all proteins, and of course, like the different fats. So it's very friendly toward the power plate. Again, it's just being mindful of throwing in some of those plant-based proteins. I'm sure you've heard of or have tried yourself doing like a meatless Monday or something. And again, that doesn't mean a proteinless Monday or a proteinless meal. It just means not doing meat for that day. So basically the idea is to still keep it balanced, still have those, a variety of different foods in each food group, and still making sure you're like practicing that mindful eating and intuitive eating and listening to your body and making sure you feel satisfied from that meal. So certain benefits from this, the biggest thing is like health benefits wise, is a lot of the plant-based proteins are very high in fiber. So, we know fiber is good for blood sugar regulation. It's good for cholesterol levels. It's good for feeling full and satisfied, right? So it helps you feel nice and satisfied until that next meal or snack. A lot of these, things have different kind of vitamins that maybe you would have, right? So increases variety. And then as far as like chronic diseases, it does reduce risk for diabetes and hypertension. It can improve like GI disturbances and GI problems. And then it may help prevent certain types of cancer, good for the environment, and it's cost effective. So it's kind of similar, but I just wanted to highlight some specific things about the plant-based proteins. So animal proteins have a higher amount of saturated fat, right? Which is not as like healthy for our bodies. However, we don't want to completely cut out the animal proteins because again, you get a lot of good things from animal proteins. You get a lot of that good protein, you get a lot of iron and other vitamins and minerals from there. So we want to have a mix of both. And I'm not saying necessarily even that the plant-based are better than the animal, right? Like we just want to have like a mix of both. How many times am I going to say a mix of both in this presentation? Another thing, related to our presentation today is that they're oftentimes cheap, right? Like can of beans, I think, however, it's probably increased now a little bit, but it's like, a little over $1 probably. So they're cheap, they're shelf stable. So, like I said, cans of beans, chickpeas, lentils, those are things that I keep on hand for like as staples for quick, easy meals, right? So they're shelf stable, they won't go bad, and they're easy to prepare, right? Like how easy is opening a can of beans or a can of chickpeas and using that as a salad or as a rice bowl and a soup, whatever it is, or like a, at-home Chipotle bowl type thing. So there's a lot of benefits health-wise and a lot of benefits in terms of like saving money and time, right? So how do we follow the flexitarian way of eating? So kind of, like what we talked about, we still want to follow the power plate. It's just filling that protein blank with a little different, being mindful of having that variety. So, we still want to have a mix of fruits and veggies, still filling half our plate up with the fruits and non-starchy veggies, mixing in those plant proteins, still focusing on those whole grains, so those nutrient dense, high fiber carbohydrates, but still including dairy, eggs, like eggs and nut butters, like those are also a good way to fill in the protein, because yes, like eggs is technically an animal protein, right? However, eggs are, I'm sure you've heard there's like a debate about eggs all the time, but eggs are high in cholesterol. However, they're low in saturated fat, which is a good thing. And what they're finding about cholesterol more and more is that it's mostly genetic. And so, it's not necessarily something you're doing wrong, or, of course, there are dietary things that you can do to help a little bit, but a lot of times it's genetic. And so, like, your body is pretty good at regulating cholesterol. Anyway, eggs are a really good protein, and they're really like easy to prepare, cheap for snacks and for meals. So still a couple, like, one thing to still be in mind of is doing like the sugar sweetened foods and beverages in moderation, right? So we still want to focus on those nutrient dense foods for the most part, right? Like those always foods and those sometimes foods, but with a mix of those plant-based proteins. So a good start would be doing like a meatless dinner one night, right? Like maybe doing like Mondays, doing a meatless meal. It doesn't have to be the entire day, right? But maybe it's like a dinner once a week that you do meatless. Has anyone done this before? Had success with kind of implementing this at all? Or any reservations about trying this, maybe? Or just questions about what we've covered so far? Oh, I have a raised hand from Julie. Julie, did you want to say something? Are you muted? One. Oh, okay. I got Julie's message. So hesitant because I don't like a lot of the plant-based proteins. So like a lot of them could be like beans, and you don't like some of those things. Well, and that's hard, right? But like maybe it's about like finding, I think really about finding like certain things that, like, sometimes it's a recipe that, that just really helps it, or even doing like dairy, like, using cheese as the protein, or a Greek yogurt. I'll mix like with my tomato sauce for like spaghetti, I'll do like Greek yogurt, mix in the sauce to increase some of that protein there. So there are certain ways, just getting creative and finding things. Sometimes it's a trial and error. But again, it doesn't have to be like every night of the week or 5 times a week. Maybe it's one day, or maybe it's like even breakfast. Breakfast sometimes is easier to do. No meat, like using a protein powder in your oatmeal, or protein waffles that you can buy at the store. So there's certain ways that you can kind of play around and try some different products. But yeah, that's a hard one. And sometimes we're just not used to those different products too, right? Like we kind of grow up used to being meat. Meat is like the focus of the meal. I have one that's I like. It's harder to get teens on board. Yes, I work with this a lot because I think teens just have a little, opinion on everything, which is a good thing. But I think one thing with kids and trying new ways of eating, I think, we talk a lot about the division of responsibility. And what that means is the parents are in charge of what is served, when it's served, and where it's served. And the kids are in charge of if they eat it and how much. And yeah, like if they don't specifically love one meal, maybe in a couple of days you make one of their favorites or something, depending on what's your plan for the week. And if like, oh man, they really hate beans, make sure to serve like 1 to 2 things that that they like, and 1 to 2 things that maybe they won't, or maybe it's new. But honestly, the best thing for kiddos is the exposure to new things and just making them familiar with new things, even if they don't try it or they don't try it like for several times in a row that you serve it, just getting them familiar with it. And you'd be surprised what they actually end up trying. But I won't spend too much time on that, but if you want more information on like the division of responsibility and feeding kiddos, let me know in like a private message on Healthy, and I can send you some resources on that. Love working with that kind of thing. Used to be pescatarian. Yeah. So very similar, right? Like it's very similar, flexitarian, pescatarian, even vegetarian, where it's just kind of a little more flexible. And pescatarian is good because you get some of those really good benefits from fish that are hard to get from other foods or meats. So yeah. Anyone else before I move along? Okay. So here are some like examples of swaps for protein. So I'll go through these. Looks like I have a typo here. I will fix that. So add beans, chickpeas, lentils, or edamame to salads. So this is a fun one. I also like adding quinoa to my salads. I think one, it gives you that good grain and a little bit of protein in there, and it kind of makes it more filling because it's high fiber too. So those are different things. You can even you don't have to cook the beans. I like to sometimes roast my chickpeas, like canned chickpeas. I'll roast them and that gives it a little crunch to the salad. Making burrito bowls. I do this one all the time. This is one that we kind of cycle in and out, but burrito bowls are so good because they're easy. The beans can act as your protein, and you can kind of throw whatever vegetables you have in the fridge in there, right? Of course, it could be peppers and onions. I love to do zucchini and squash in my burrito bowls. It could be broccoli, right? I mean, you can kind of customize based on what you have and what sounds good. Tofu, cheese, or hummus to your sandwich or wrap. Refried beans, cheese, and grilled veggie tacos. I like doing that one too. Or just even like refried bean and cheese tacos with a salad on the side, right? Also, that's an easy lunch. And oftentimes kiddos like that one. Mixing tahini or hummus into your salad dressing to get a little bit more protein there. Add tofu, chickpeas, or edamame into your stir fry. And then try having like a bean burger instead of a beef patty. There are a lot of like plant-based what am I trying to say, products like Morningstar. I think one's called Beyond Meat. Boca is another brand. So there are a lot of brands there that people do enjoy. So kind of mix into their routine. Anyone have any other ideas about like swapping to increase protein at all? Another one that I do all the time is I think we've talked about this one, but the Banza pasta. And there are several other protein pasta at the store too, but I love the Banza pasta. So it's a chickpea pasta. And so certain meatless meals that I'll do are just the pasta, spaghetti sauce, and a veggie. Or I'll do like a pasta salad with the Banza pasta, and the pasta is my protein and my grain. I've done a vegetable soup with the Banza pasta as the protein and the grain. So there's a lot of things you can do with a protein pasta to increase some of the pasta without necessarily having to have meat. Anyone else have anything here? Or ideas? Maybe something that you've done before? Okay. So this is another handout that I'm going to upload for you guys. This is basically like 1 serving or portion of protein is about 7 grams of protein, which is about 1 ounce. And so these are things that you can this is basically what you would swap. And so not that you have to like start counting grams or ounces, but it does give you an idea. Typically we want to have anywhere from 2 to 4 ounces of protein at a meal. And so you can kind of see like what you would need to add in there. However, I like to just think of it as like, okay, I have a protein here. I have something, as a replacement, or I have protein in my meals, just to kind of visualize it. But this is something that I'm going to upload for you guys just to help give you an idea too of like adding in different things. Okay. So I already asked this question, but I'll ask it one more time. Any other like plant-based swaps would you like to include or like to maybe even try? Like, are any of the ones that I said sound good or that maybe you'll try with your family? What do you think?
I might try that Bonza pasta.
Yes, try it. I think they've gotten really good with the formula. I think the first time I tried it like years ago, I made a mac and cheese with it and it wasn't a hit with my family. However, I think they've really improved with their product. And like I said, Barilla makes a protein pasta. There's lentil pastas out there. So try a couple brands, but I really love the Bonza pasta brand. And there's so many different ways you can have it to make it a high protein meal. Yeah, roasting chickpeas on a salad sounds good. I think it's kind of like, like we use croutons for that crunch, but it also gives like a high protein crunch. Nuts and seeds, I love I like adding sunflower seeds or shaved almonds to my salads. For breakfast in the morning, if you like to do oatmeal, you can add like I'll make overnight oats and I'll add like a Greek yogurt in there with some almonds and peanut butter, and that'll give some good add some protein in there, and it makes it more filling too for longer. Anyone else want to share what they are wanting to try maybe? Okay. So this is just a recipe that I'm going to share with you guys. So this is a Greek salad. And I'm going to share the actual link with you guys, but don't forget, we have a Le Mans Nutrition blog on our website, and we also have an Instagram, a Facebook, and we share recipes all the time on there, and we follow our motto of simple, tasty health. So they're always going to be quick, easy, tasty recipes, because, I think something we've learned throughout this course is healthy food can still taste good and be satisfying. And this meal right here, I think it says it can be bought for under $10, and it makes quite a bit, right? So mixing those good veggies, proteins, I'm not sure if there's quinoa in here, but I would add some quinoa, or even like the Bonza pasta in this recipe, I think would be delicious. So this one's a good, refreshing. And I guess for the winter coming up, like the soup chili season, there's a lot of ways that you can make like a plant-based chili with lentils or with beans or chickpeas, or a soup. There's a lot of good protein soups that you can make still that are high protein. Like I think I need to find the recipe, but I think I've made a broccoli cheddar soup. The cheese will give some protein, but if you add that Greek yogurt in, it'll add even more. So there's a lot of fun, tasty things that you can still add that plant-based protein in. So here is a slide on some recipe inspiration. There's just a few that I really like. This first one, Meal Lime, it's an app, and they have a lot of good plant-based recipes that I have used, and they taste good. Yumly is also an app. There's a few that are like Pinch of Yum, Well Plated are websites. However, I think they both have Instagrams. The Real Food Dietitians is an Instagram, and they post a lot of good things. And then, like I said, we of course have our Instagram, website, and Facebook it has some good recipes and just honestly good resources on there. We usually upload a blog each week, and it's always, about a really cool topic. This month, actually, since October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're kind of focusing on breast cancer and nutrition and the importance of screening and all those things. We have some good blogs up about that right now. Another one that I really love that I forgot to put on here. I wouldn't say all of her recipes are super simple. However, if you just like watching delicious food recipes, you should follow Half Baked Harvest on Instagram, because all of her recipes look amazing, and I've made some of them and they're really good. I think we actually featured one of hers on our website at one point, but they're really tasty and they just look all so good. Anyone else have any recipe inspiration that they like to use that they would like to share, or that they've just really loved? Anyone like a website or a blog or Instagram, Facebook even, that you like? There's another one. Define Dish has a good Instagram. And then another cool book and actually a documentary on Netflix too is Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. And it's a really cool documentary. To be completely fair, I've only watched two, like the salt episode and the fat episode, I believe, but I have the book and it's really cool. She talks about like how to use salt, how to use fat to ultimately make the food better and tastier. Pinterest, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, there's so many things you can find on Pinterest as far as recipes. Yeah, Skinny Taste cookbooks. I hear those are all, like, I think there's a website for her stuff too, but she has a lot of good tasty recipes as well. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Okay, so any questions today, like as far as budget friendly nutrition, as far as the flexitarian way of dieting, or just any questions, discussion at all that you have for me today before we talk a little bit about goal setting? Okay, well, as you know, as always, if you have any questions later or you just want to send me a personal message, please do. I've gotten some messages from you guys, and some of you have sent in your halfway check-in sheets, and I love reading them. I think they're so inspiring. I see a lot of like mindful eating and balance and like having grace, for yourself throughout the process. So I love reading those. So thank you for sending those. And I guess as far as goal setting this week, anyone have any ideas for what they want to add to your goal sheet this week? Maybe it's something about like planning, or maybe it's something about adding in a plant-based protein or meal or snack. And don't forget, like snacks are a good way to start too, right? Like snacks are kind of a way to fill in those nutritional gaps like we've talked about. So snacks are a good way to start, like adding in some of those plant-based proteins, like roasted chickpeas, even edamame as a snack, right? Or trail mix, nuts and seeds. So anyone, make sure that or anyone want to share any goals that they want to add this week to their sheet? What do you think? Anyone? Maybe at least one? I think I have one. More water. Yeah. Okay. So more water, increasing that, and maybe decreasing some like the sugar things. Okay. Meal planning. Yeah. I love that. Right. Meal planning, trying to, to dedicate that one little, or not one little, but time to make sure you're prepared for the week. And like I said, next week is going to be all about meal planning and grocery shopping. So we'll really get into some like how to create a plan that works for you. So I'm excited about that one. I think that one's really like helpful for making this, making your health a priority. So good goals. Any other questions, thoughts, feelings before I let everyone go for the rest of their week? Okay. Well, again, just to reiterate, please message me if you need anything or have any questions. Send me your, halfway check-in, or even just if you want to do, because you have a goal sheet in Healthy too. So if you want to send me your goals for the week, please do. I will send over the resources that we talked about today, and I will see you guys next week for our last session. Thank you. Thanks for the conversation and everything today. I hope you guys have an excellent week. Bye, everyone.